This is the Boogie percent race where the goal is to complete the Boogie tent fight and get to fly honey. This particular bracket is the first round of the brackets. So these two runners have both qualified through the group stage and moved on to the bracket stage, which is single elimination. And each of these, any game with Earthbound, you've got 1 minute and 8 seconds of cutscene that gives you a little brief exposition and also kind of shows your way up from Onet to the house, where it's doing the setup for the game, which starts late at night, and a meteor hits. The majority of this early game is all about optimal movement, optimal mashing, decent menuing, but it's not really that much of an issue at the very beginning. So both of these runners will go and grab the cracked bat out of their sister's room, first things and foremost, and equip it, because that just saves time in the long run to do such. Only a couple seconds, but, you know, it's a speedrun, so you gotta save time where you can. Because it said ALTTP in Speed Gaming 3, just because it just got done. It does take a second for Twitch to actually update it, update the game. So you just may need to refresh. So yes, these players are going to try and use as much optimal movement through cardinal directions and diagonal movement, trying to grind off of walls that they can without bonking, because every time you bonk, it costs you 1 second. And then they're going to talk to our friend Pokey up here, who's basically saying, hey, you're bugging the officers, even though he's doing the exact same thing that you're doing. So he's like, well, we'll take a look at it tomorrow. Not a big issue. We'll go back, you know, take a good night's sleep, and everything will be fine in the morning, right? Right? Well, unfortunately, you know, after we get back, we finally lay down because, you know, walking around in PJs is no fun. And we're like, okay, let's get some sleep, because, you know, that's important. And then we'll get woken up once again because our friend Pokey has lost his brother. So, remember when I said about getting the crackbat early? Well, doing these sequence of text boxes will basically explain that, hey, you should probably get some sort of weapon before you go out, because it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. And if you don't have it yet, you can't actually leave the house. So what they did right at the very beginning by getting that crackbat nice and early is they just made sure that they're set up and ready to go. So as soon as they get done getting changed from their pajama pants into actual clothes, which are inferior in my book, they're going to go down, say, hey, Pokey, let's go now, because we've got the crackbat, we're all ready to go. Until we get a last-minute call from our dad saying, hey, this is how you save the game. This is how you get money out, because Earthbound's a little different than your standard RPGs. Your money is mainly stored in the bank. Each time you kill an enemy, your money doesn't go directly to you. It actually gets stored into a bank. And this is a neat idea, especially in this game, because, you know, with your standard RPGs, what happens is you keep all of your money on your person. And then what happens is anytime you die, you typically lose half your money on all other RPGs. Well, in Earthbound, what it is you get stored all of your money in the ATM, and you basically try and grab out as much of your ATM while abusing death warps and whatnot to move quickly. So it's a neat idea. Now, we get introduced to the first 3 types of enemies in the game. We get the snakes, which are stutterable, which is basically rhythmic movement to cancel their movement animations, depending on how good you are. You have the crows, which are swoopers, which they move left and right, left and right, left and right, before they can go up and down any direction. And then you have the dogs, which just charge at you. So Unfortunately, Fortunato stepped on Snake. So don't step on Snake, OS Komodo. And Ephraim's going for a Snake bonk and gets it. Great. So he's moving up relatively quickly because that was the last spawn tile once he gets past that man in the shack on the way up to the meteorite. So now we're going to meet Pokey's brother, Picky, and pick him up. And then we're going to have a little bit more exposition saying, oh, that's great. And then something pops out of the meteor. Our good friend Buzz, who really loves to sit around in my room all the bloody time and just never leaves me alone. And, it's our friend, the friendly gnat that bugs the heck out of me, who's going to explain the majority of the story to us. How Gigas was this alien in in Mother, and he's been here since ancient times, and we need these melodies to save the world. So after we get Buzz, all the spawns are gone from the meteorite walk, and our player characters and our runners will be going down and grabbing the bread roll on their way down. This is, again, optimal movement. You want to try and move as efficiently as you can without wasted movement because, again, trying to save time through movement, menuing, and mashing. The three big things of Earthbound. The fourth one is, of course, RNG, because this game has a lot of RNG into it, and that's one of its greats and drawbacks, depending on where you stand on that matter. You can just get complete variance how quickly you're going to get through certain sections of the game. Really annoying when you're going for previes just to get absolutely dog tier RNG, but, unless you're getting to that key point where your menuing, your movement, and your mashing is on point, don't worry about it too much. Just have fun with the game. Try and get through as cleanly as you can. So both of these runners are going to go into their first boss fight, which is Starman Jr. Now, Starman Jr. has a total, I believe, 200 health. I'll double check that. And he's got a couple different attacks. He's got a fire attack, which is the one you don't want to see, where it'll attack all the characters in the party. And it's slow because it doesn't do any damage because Buzz keeps putting up shields for us, but it's a lot of text to master, so we don't want to see it. He's got a freeze attack, which is a single target, which is much faster. He's got an on guard, which is what we want to see on turns that Buzz is shielding, but not attacking, because Buzz is the one that does all the damage in this fight. Ness may do a little bit, especially if he smashes, but he doesn't really do that much. And Eriphram gets through Starman, sub 8 minutes, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good time for Starman, and that's going to get him through nice and quickly. We'll go through a little bit more exposition once we get inside and talk to Pokey's parents, but Fortunato is a little bit further behind, which makes sense because, again, he had a fight on his way up. But that also means that he's got a little bit more money in the bank, so it shouldn't make that much of a difference in the fact of the matter, which is why you try and avoid all the fights so that you can during the first meteorite trick, but it's fine. At 200 HP. Looks like Fortunato is getting a little bit trolled because, again, this fight is characterized by how many attacks that Buzz has to make. The average amount of attacks that Buzz is going to make is about 3. The quickest he can do is 2. The slowest he can do is he can get up into those 5 and 6s with misses. Rare. They're very rare, but he can get up there. You can just straight up lose a minute because Starman wants to do all these fire attacks and Buzz just is not hitting strongly or is missing, and you're just like, oh, yeah. Aries giving out. He's going to go down toward Onet proper, but first he's going to visit the secret shack. Because he's got to go take his friend's prized possession, because we're brave and all, and we need better equipment. He's going to take the prized possession, which is the best baseball hat in the game that you can get right now. And what we're going to do instead is sell it for money at the nearest pawn shop. Because what we can do instead is get 2 items, a regular baseball cap and a cheap bracelet, in addition to a better bat, and just have better stats all across the board. It's kind of important that you do all this stuff because, again, you're level 2 right now. And we're going to be immediately going into a couple of scripted fights and then fighting our second boss of the game. And that second boss is incredibly dangerous. In this game, if bosses want to kill you, they are going to kill you. I want to make that very clear. You just can lose runs, you can lose races, if bosses just want to come really aggressive on you. And the thing is, there is a manipulated version of the game, but for the sake of the race, it's one of those where in a race and a tournament environment, it's agreed upon that you don't do the manipulation, because the manipulation between a manipulated ONET and a non-manipulated ONET, if I remember right, it's around the course of, I want to say 18 minutes versus on the order of 30, 35 minutes, depending on kind of how your RNG goes. Now, Ares going into these first Pogopunk fights, which have a couple different attacks. Unfortunately, charge forward, which is their strong attack. And at that point, you typically want to just heal, because that way you can just bash out the end. And what did I say about things getting aggressive? There we go. 3 charge forwards right at the start. When enemies want to kill you, they're going to try and kill you. The Pokepunks also have a light attack, and they can fall over. So, like, Ares saw that. It's like, oh, these Pokepunks are coming out to play. Went and grabbed the extra safety there, the can of fruit juice, which restores about 6 HP. But it's one of those where, when they're that aggressive, what you want to do is be at a safe health tool. That way you're not in danger of dying to a double mount. Again, charging forward. Jeez, these guys are aggressive today. Oh man. Yeah, both of these Pokepunks are guaranteed to drop hamburgers. The thing is, there's other shark spawns that can be out there, but by taking the exact path down there, you can should be able to avoid the majority of them, if you do the correct pathing. So Ares is going into the Frank fight. Frank has a couple different attacks. He can use a Say Something Nasty, which lowers your guts. He can use a light attack, and he can come out with his knife. We don't want to see Frank take out his knife. He can also use a guard attack. But the thing is, what we really want to see is just him using a lot of the empty attacks. The guards, the Says Something Nasty, because anytime that Frank attacks you, you're typically going to want to heal. Specifically with your psychic points, because they get replenished after this fight because you level up. Not all the way, but they replenish some. Basically the amount that you get from the level up. And that's normally enough to get you one more life up for the Frankenstein fight. So after we've beaten Frank, we're going to go into the Frankenstein fight. In the Frankenstein fight, there's a fairly scripted fight, actually. It's one of those where he uses a burst of steam, then he does a light attack, then he does a burst of steam, then he does either a light or a heavy attack. He will continue the last 2 events until the fight ends. So basically, once you get to that point, you're just hoping to kill him. Ideally, you want to kill him in about 3 or 4 turns if you're lucky. You get a lucky smash, you're going to complete a little faster. But ideally, if you're anywhere above like 24, I would say, just go in and try and attack him. On his turns where he attacks you, heal that, because you're taking advantage of the rolling hit mechanic, where you don't actually lose, even though you take mortal damage, until all of your characters have hit 0. So it's an ideal way to kind of press your luck. Now, both of our runners will be immediately going to talk to the mayor, BH Pickle. He's going to give us a key to the entertainment shack, which is currently locked, and it's the way to get up to Giant Step. And we want to get up to Giant Step because it's our first sanctuary. Now, there are actually 8 sanctuaries in the main game. Unfortunately, in this particular shortened run of the game, Boogey%, we will only be visiting the first one, Giant Step. And what you're doing is you're collecting the melodies from each one after you defeat the Sanctuary Guardian, so you can save the day. Now, after we get the key from the mayor, both of our runners will be hitting the ATM, and then stocking up on as many hamburgers as they can carry. And this is important because they will be using the hamburgers for, hopefully, it lasts them all the way until Car Painter or so. Because they want to have hamburgers for the grind section, they want to have hamburgers for the ant fight, they want to have hamburgers for the strong and comp fights, and they need one additional food source for Apple Kid. Now, if you just get absolutely wailed on at one point by Ant, typically runners will come back and grab extra hamburgers. But ideally, what you want to do is you want to get through Ant without a death, and come back into Onad with about at least 5 burgers, is what you're hoping for. Now, in Giant Step, this is the only grind section of the run, where our runners are looking for a total of 22 slugs. Slugs have 30 hit points. That's a very key number to remember. And you're looking for 22 of them. The ideal way to do it is to actually get 12 on the first floor, get 4 on the second floor, and get 6 on the third floor. However, you can, if you want to play it a little bit safer, get up to 22 on the first floor before you start moving up. The reason is, on the upper floors, ants can spawn, and they will have the same sprite as the slugs, so it's important you know which one's which. And it can confuse, runners, especially if you're new, which ones are which, because you could get a pack of 2, and it just so happens that it's in a single ant spawn and a single slug spawn. That can and will happen on the third floor. But if you're very good at it, you can quickly identify which ones they are. Now, the other mobs inside of the Giant Step main area are your mouses, your mises, which basically they have an exceptionally high gut stat, which means they really, really, really love to smash you. They do 1 damage normally to you, but if they smash you, they do between 12 and 13, depending on your defense stat. So ideally, you don't want to fight them, mainly because they've got more HP than the slugs, and they give the same amount of XP, approximately. Plus, they typically only spawn in packs of 1 unless you get multiple mice, and at that point, you're not going to have a fun time. So both of our runners are trying to make their way up to level 8. Again, that level 8 is so they can get rockin', and ideally they'll have at least 24 attack before they move on. And the reason they want 24 attack is because it allows you to instant win against a single Antoid fight. In this game, there is an auto win mechanic. Basically, when you completely out-level something, you can get a chance to auto win against them. When it's 100%, you will auto win. And it's a good mechanic because it allows you to kind of just go through and, in certain zones, you're just like, oh, well, that's fine. Because I can just get through this section even though he's blocking the door, and I'm just going to get an auto win. Also, when you out-level them extensively, the mobs will run away from you with certain percentages depending on your level. A lot of neat stuff, so. Again, this is kind of a key zone of the run because of how lucky you can get with spawns, how good you are at stuttering, when you get those lucky slug spawns, so you can kind of get through your grind as quickly as possible. Looks like Aries kind of given up on that. What is a Boogey%? Boogey% is a shortened version of the glitchless, non-manipulated category. It is basically a race through Onets, through the Tucson area, into 3, get Jeff, defeat the Boogie tent, and then get the fly honey at the end. It's a shortened version of it. It's a great intro version to Earthbound. It's most comparable to things like Paladin Percent, if you're familiar with that. It's like Eri got slugs, but the slugs were probably from 2 different packs, and they got a odd encounter where they're just not wanting to group up right now. How unfortunate. Oh well. So Eri got, I believe, level 7 there, so. Boogie Percent is a great intro to the game. It teaches you the major mechanics of the game. It teaches you your menuing, your mashing, your movement, how to stutter, how to quickly pick enemies and kind of move through, because you use a lot of the similar strategies in the glitchless category as you do the Boogie Percent category. You just have some stuff omitted. That is also true. The game rapidly ramps up in difficulty. Which is the famous quote, "You will never have a good 3 cave." Because you will never have a good 3 cave. 3 cave is the immediate area right after Boogie Percent. Basically, drop off the fly honey, and then you can go into 3 cave, and it's not fun. But yes, this is the single elimination bracket section of the Boogie Percent tournament. Group stages were done about 10 days ago. They ended at the very end of September. So now we're in single elimination brackets. This is a first round match between Eri and Fortunata. So both of these runners were in the top 2 seeds of their respective 4-person group stages. So chat, normally during this section when they're doing the grind, I ask a very famous question. Since we stock up on all this healing item, in my opinion, we have all these hamburgers. I've got a question for chat. How do you like your hamburger or cheeseburger? What's your favorite toppings or condiments or cheese or whatnot? What would you put on your favorite burger? As we got these runners wrapping up their grinds. Personally, for me, my favorite things on a cheeseburger is a light spread of mayo, some salt and pepper with crumbled blue cheese, and onions. Maybe also bacon. Can't forget the bacon. However, I do enjoy that is for like a medium burger. If I'm going to do something more well done, then I'm already go for the loaded basket. The mayo, the onions, the grilled mushrooms, maybe some hot sauce, maybe some jalapenos, maybe some pickles. Go for the big old basket of the good stuff. It depends on it. If you're going for, there's, in my opinion, 2 different types of burgers. You've got your traditional burger, which should be done medium or medium rare, which is a thicker patty, and then you've got a smash burger, which you can't get done. It's like a diner style. It's a smash burger where they make a ball, and you smash it underneath a spatula, and you end up with a very flat burger, which ends up grilling up very quickly, ends up crispy. For the smash burger, you go for the heavier dose. Because again, the goal is not to savor the beef as much as enjoy just the big sandwich. Because you can't get a smash burger medium. You just can't do it. If you're trying to go for a medium smash burger, you're just doing it. You either want a nice burger patty with some give and meat and, being a little bit pink in the middle, or you're going to want that smash burger. So both of these runners are going into the ant fight. A Titanic ant has 235 HP. He spawns with 2 antoids. What the runners are going to do is try and get as many of the rockets off and psychic attacks off as they can, because eventually ant likes to put up a shield. Ant likes to suck away your PP. And when he does that, you're like, well, the only thing you can heal with is burgers. And if the fight goes long enough, you'll run into a situation where you just don't have anything to heal it. If Ant wants to be particularly mean, if you roll low on the rockets or miss, the fight can go south in a hurry. Ant loves to put up magnets. He loves to steal your TP, your PP. I play too many RPGs. I always screw up the alternate power. No, it's mana. No, it's psychic points. No, it's TP. God damn it. But that's what you want to see. You typically want to see a lot of magnets once you get all of your psychic attacks off. And then he also can put up a shield of light. He can attack you with a light attack. He can bite into you, and he can also smash you. And that smash does 60 damage. It is not fun. So the thing is, whenever you complete a sanctuary boss, all of the standard spawn mobs will run away from you. The ideal way to do it is, in this game, lag is a very big issue. The more sprites you've got on screen, the more latency and lag it's going to cause. Now, this affects any sort of movement tech that you want to do, and also how fast you can move. As you can see with all these sprites on the screen, Ares kind of slowing down here. A tactic that you can do is actually kind of push mobs up to the top of Giant Step while you're going down to try and, quote-unquote, have as many despawned as possible to speed up your movement. As you can see, both runners are now just getting out of Giant Step. So, great equalizer there, the ants and the Giant Step grind. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a burger count. Looks like Ari grabbed a little bit of extra money, so he's going to grab an additional burger on his way through. Before he goes down and talks to the cops. Fortunato also grabbing an additional burger. I might steal this tactic. Okay, so he's going for the full Philip play. So again, differences in routing. You can take out as much money as you want out of the ATM. Fortunato grabbed out all of his money before going up to Giant Step. Ari just grabbed a quick 100. Now, these cops, we've got a series of 4 cop fights where the cops can do a light attack, they can use a crushing chop, which we definitely don't want to see, and it's all about maximizing how high your HP can be going into each and every fight. Ideally, you want the cops to be basically either on guard or do light attacks always for you. Because again, less time you have to heal, the quicker you can complete the fights. So, standard rules if you're first getting into cops I'd recommend to people. Are you in the 50s? Use a hamburger. Are you in the 30s or below? Life up. That's just the standard things I'd recommend if you're learning the speedrun. because it's a very safe way to take the play. Even if you get smashed or crushing chopped, you should be fine with those kind of numbers. Unless you get crushing chopped into that very low status of 24 or below, then you have to be worried. You have to be worried about your mashing skill. Other than that, you should be relatively safe through these count fights. Now, Aries getting through this last cop fight. Fortunato's going into his last cop fight, and Aries going to go into Captain Strong. Now, the most efficient strategy of Captain Strong, since he has a 140 HP, is you just want to go in there with a decent chunk of HP and go for 2 rockets. You're hoping those rockets hit, you're hoping they hit decently. Your average rocket is around 70 at this point, and he gets a good roll on the first one. And Aries gets a miss on the second rocket. Oh, submission holds. Here it comes. Okay. Getting through O-Net with a 31-12. That's a pretty solid no-net. Fortunato out of Strong at 31-42. So we have a 30-second difference between our two runners right now. Very, very close fight. Now both of them will be going down to Tucson. In the glitchless category, what you do is you go into the house that Aries just passed by to grab an exit mouse. But in Boogie Percent, there's really no need to do it. You can't really use the exit mouse to get out of any place on the routing. You definitely want to avoid all the spawns that you can in Tucson, especially right at the beginning. One of the worst ones to get hit by is a mushroom, and they've got a very short aggro radius, but they have a tendency to put on you mastermized. Now the thing is that mastermized is it's the biggest sort of, in my opinion, how to say this politely, smash controller. It's one of those where it will circle your controller around. Basically, your controls will switch on you in a circular pattern, so they'll always go clockwise. So instead of up, it'll be you have to push right to go up, and then you got to push down to go up, and it'll cycle every couple seconds or a random amount of time. And it's just not fun to deal with. And this is exactly why I actually picked up a controller, is because you can't really quickly do this on a keyboard, is dealing with those mechanics. Because the best way to do it is just turn the controller in your hand each time you get mastermized. Now, what you can do, though, is you can get a little extra money if you do end up getting mastermized. There's a girl right outside of Connector Caves that buys some mushrooms, but it's a very interesting mechanic. Now, Apple Kid, he's kind of useless right at the moment. He's not only out of funds, he's out of food. I feel for the man. But, so basically what he needs a loaner for us to invest in him, and he's also kind of hungry, so he can't work on anything, otherwise he's going to pass out. So this is why it's important to have $200 and some sort of food item. Now, he'll take any food item. Just don't try and give him your ATM card. That's the most common error that you guys will make from just overmashing or hitting the accept button twice and just accidentally giving the ATM card, which kind of has a humorous line that he gives back to you where he's like, yeah, that's nice, but I kind of prefer something that's edible. Going through Connector Cave, you just want to see no spawns. Now, I have been told in the past that it's a 75% chance that there is no spawns in each of the Connector Caves. I disagree with those numbers from, just because it always feels like there's some sort of connector cave spawn. So both of our runners are going through Peaceful Rest Valley. They're going up and loading in the pencil in the memory, even though they're technically not loading in the memory. They're basically setting a flag. So Apple Kid will say, hey, come over here. And we have sync, ladies and gentlemen. You got your syncs. We have sync. Looks like both runners are kind of struggling trying to get these despawns. Fortunato has taken a slight lead going out of pencil. Now, what our friend Apple Kid will basically say, hey, come on back, I've got something nice for you. Now, if you go back to his house, he's not there. Basically, you need to go down to Burgerland Park, because he's now in Burgerland Park, where we will be skipping an optional boss named Everdread. Now, the first time you came through it, you probably ended up fighting this guy when you're exploring around. We'll be skipping this guy and going straight to Apple Kid to kind of progress the story. Both these runners getting a butterfly. They need to get a total of at least 2 butterflies going through Peaceful Rest Valley and this section of the game to refill on psychic points before getting into Happy proper. Happy Village. So getting one there is kind of fortunate. It's like Fortunato got a spawn and despawned it. Apple Kid will give us a pencil eraser. And he's like, yeah, I've got this really neat adventure that's going to get rid of pencils and stuff for you. Just don't use it next to a pencil shop, please. Then they'll be going back through the connector cave, up back to the pencil to erase it with that item. Alright, so they're making their way back up to the pencil eraser. Looks like they had some spawns in a connector cave, so. Fortunato going for, wow, that was some good movement there. Yeah, welcome to Peaceful Rest Valley proper, or Pencil Rage Valley. Or Pincer Rage Valley, in my case. In this particular section of the game, you kind of get introduced to how despawning can go bad for you. What can happen is when you're going for a despawn for an enemy that's in front of you, what may happen is there's an enemy that spawns behind you, and you can get what is classically known as a pincer. It will take either clever movement or clever despawning to get rid of these enemies. And it really tests the runner's knowledge of the game map, how far they've got to move, and how optimal they can move. Of different enemies that can be here. You've got the sprouts. You've got the territorial oaks, which are the trees. You've got the clumsy robos, which are the diamonds, which a lot of enemies actually use that sprite. And you have the UFOs. The most dangerous out of all the enemies here is by far, in my opinion, the oak. Because it just hurts. And if it's in a group of multiple enemies, it explodes when you kill it. But the other ones are just as dangerous, the sprouts being the least dangerous enemies out of the groups. The UFOs are extremely fast, so it makes it very difficult to run from, and the clumsy robos really love to give you a cold. Ares dealing with a lot of pincers and is going for it. Gets a clumsy robo fight. And gets a cold. Pincer Rage Valley, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Splendid also gets the shield light off, which is another fun thing that I can do, which reduces the physical damage it takes. Unfortunately, I had to spend some psychic points to get rid of that cold, otherwise, essentially, it's a bleeding damage debuff. And we had Suicidal Snake. You know, Snip-on Snake, unfortunately, that snake really, really wanted to poop nest. Rip Snake. Fortunato going into the shack fight, which spawns 2 cultists and 1 crow. And got a cultist block party already starting. Luckily that they called for help before the rocket instead of after the rocket, which is never good. Cultists are unrunnable fights because of this specific counter. And Fortunato's the shack fight. This is one of the clutch moments of the run. In my opinion, these are the 3 most dangerous fights coming up. The shack fight, the cultist fight, and technically the car painter fight, but it's not really that dangerous compared to the other 2. Because the car painter fight is scripted, in all intents and purposes. It's just depending on how much RNG you got going your way. But the cultist fights are particularly nasty, and the other thing that you need to know about is any cultists you see on the overworld are unrunnable because of that shacked encounter fight. Cultists are just not fun in general because they have the same kind of mechanics as the ants that we saw earlier. They just love calling more of their buddies into a fight. Ares through the shack fight and moving on to the main assembly. With the fortunate smash instantly through the cultist fight, that's gotta be a huge sigh of relief. Unfortunately, he has very, very high health going into Carpenter. That's the only drawback of that. But I'll personally, on my end, I will always take a high health Carpenter with a guaranteed through those fights, as opposed to a riskier cultist fight and going in with lower HP. Now, Carpenter basically loves to... He's got a total of 262 health, and what he'll do is he'll use a lightning attack first to have a chance of reflecting, and then he will heal himself, and then he will paint. So you're ideally wanting to kill him as quickly as possible, and Fortunato's through Carpenter, excellent. Now, both of these runners saved in Tucson while they were there, and that was to set up a death warp. In this particular moment, what we'll do is we'll go get Paula, because we got the key to the shack from Mr. Carpenter. And then we will go get Paula and set up for a death warp. This death warp saves you another trip through Peaceful Rest Valley. And if you get an ideal kind of death warp, it saves a decent chunk of time. But since both of these runners have set up for a death warp like that, if they had taken the death earlier, they'd have to walk all the way back from Tucson all the way back to Happy Happy. Oh no, Eri healed on the crashing attack. Yeah, don't heal on crashing boom attack. When in doubt, guys, if you need to heal during the car painter fight, just use a burger or a croissant. Just don't use your healing if you don't know which turn the crashing boom attack is, because the glitch could happen, reflecting everything. I'm sure Hunter's going to correct me on exactly what can happen on that glitch. If not, somebody else will. The only thing is, I know it's a bad thing, and I've trained myself never to do it because somebody told me, Felix told me, never do that, that's a bad thing. And I said, okay, I'm never going to do that. It's a bad thing. I can't remember exactly what happens. I think it denies the lightning attack and then you just heal. Because I think it negates the lightning attack from reflecting. Looks like Fortunato is always going for life noodle strats, it looked like. Which is interesting, because that is an option. Doing life noodles, it saves you a little bit of time, because instead of going to the hospital to revive Paula, what you can do is just use the life noodles to revive Paula, so you can do all of the MacGuffin actions in Tucson. Gotcha. Thank you, Hunter. See, that's what I thought it was too, but I just couldn't remember off the top of my head. The only thing that I need to know was, it's a bad thing. Don't do it. Which really, really made me want to do it. Just do it, but, Fortunato getting his death warp off the clumsy robo, and moving on through. Unfortunately, he did not pick up life noodles, so we'll need to grab out a little bit of money out of the ATM and then go up to the hospital. Looks like Ares going for the traditional mole strat. Fortunato is going through the other actions that you need to do. What you'll need to do is you'll want to get a backstage pass eventually from the Runaway 5 so you can get into their show. But what you're going to need to do is go down, show Paula's dad that Paula's alright, we saved Paula, we're good to go. That will set a flag saying, hey, Everdred really wants to talk to you, this guy that we've never met. And Everdred's like, yo, I like you, you're awesome, have some money. And we'll be like, sweet, thanks. And then we'll go to the Runaway 5 show, sit through one of the best musics in the game, throw down some sour please, and then free them from their contract at the Chaos Theater that requires them to play so much by giving the owner of the theater the money that we got from Everdred. Gut save, yay indeed, man. You do have a chance to gut save based off your gut stat, which will leave you exactly 1 HP. Definitely something you don't want to see during the death warp. So now we're going into the Runaway 5 scene where we're going to pick up a girl that looks like her sister so she can get backstage with us. And then we will start the cutscene, which I believe is exactly 1 minute and 10 seconds long. Now, this is a great thing about Earthbound. Again, if you're looking to pick up a longer RPG, not only does it have a shortened category, let's say you've only got like an hour and a half to do a speed run, because your time is really scheduled that way. But you want to learn a longer speedrun. This game has a ton of input breaks where you can, get up, you can stretch, you can take your bathroom breaks, you can grab a snack, grab a drink, and it's spread throughout the entire run. So it's good for that if you're looking to learn a longer speedrun, a longer RPG. But you don't think you can commit to 6 hours of just sitting in a seat, watching intently for everything. Great thing to pick up if you're looking for that. Not only that, it's a great game too. Humor is on point. It's a funny game in general. Getting into some of the backstory of the characters. Lots of neat stuff in this game. It's important to note that you actually have to be behind the desk when you're handing in the water bills here. If you try and hand it to him from in front of the desk, he'll say, "What's that? I can't see it from over there." So apparently his eyesight is really, really bad. But yes, Eri, my bracket's riding on you. Come on, win, bud. I'm not exactly serious, but I do have you going through a little bit. Yes, that's right. Buy his commentary. But yeah, pretty much that's the other thing is we kind of had a bracket. Anybody in the tournament had an opportunity to fill out kind of like a March Madness style bracket to see who would win the tournament as well. So it's kind of like a side thing. So once Fortunato gets into 3, this is like, oh sweet, now that I got into this creepy city, let's go check out our graveyard, because, that sounds like a cool thing to do. But yeah, I mean, input breaks are input breaks, guys. They're nice. They're actually nice playing through, being able to get up and stretch. So Fortunato probably got a ninja fly up there and noticed it, and now he's moving through. Triggers the flag for the zombies, is going to move down. And he's going to learn a very important lesson. To advance any story, what you need to do is follow a scantily dressed woman into a hotel room late at night. Well, first of all, what you need to do is have great movement, so don't bonk on everything, like I do. Then you need to not overmash, because if you overmash, you open up extra menus, like I do. And finally, you have to have good menuing, so when you're in fights, you can complete the fights a lot faster, which is something that I struggle with. So there you go. The difference between a good runner and the bad runner is Aries in the second part of the bracket. I am not. Aries made it to bracket stage. I did not. But it's a good game. You definitely could pick it up and come out with a decent time. How big is dodging enemy spawns? It's actually very important because anytime you get into a fight, especially after kind of this first section, these enemies are very, very dead. So you want to avoid all the spawns that you can. Most of these fights will kill you. So it's all about trying to optimally move through all these zones without fighting anything. So you definitely want to try and do that as cleanly as possible, which is the reason certain things are so infamous in this game. Things like ninja flies during that section going up to the zombies. Flies like to hide behind those trees, and they'll just swarm out and come out, and they may kill you, and you just may lose 2 to 3, a minute to 3 minutes fighting those guys, or killing them, or dying to them, and you'll have to walk all the way back up. Now, the thing is, you don't have that far to run, but still, you'll have to complete the graveyard again, get all the way up there, and then move on. So just a lot of stuff like that. Now, after we learn some life lessons, we get the worst character in the game, Jeff. There's some people who like this character. I still don't know what they're on, but they like this character. Some people say Jeff is life, and I say, good for you. You can have him. And Jeff comes with a couple of key things. Not only that, he gets the most appropriate companion in the game, Bubble Monkey. And he starts off in an orphanage where he's been left there for, a boarding school technically, where he's been left there and hasn't seen his dad in 10 years. So what we need to do is equip Jeff so he can actually go out into the regular world and find stuff. And then what we'll do is we'll go out and get Bubble Monkey on our way down to the rest of our adventure to link up with the rest of our group. A race with me commentating without me ragging on Jeff wouldn't be commenting. Coincidence that Jeff fights solo the hardest enemy in Earthbound? I think not. Still a better love story than Twilight. So what we'll do is we'll go down through Winters down to the lock. There is a 100% spawn tile as they're moving down. What they'll do is they'll move in a very optimal movement to get past that 100% spawn tile, because it's only a 100% spawn tile when you pass it the first time. They'll go despawn that and move on. Jeff can solo bosses in Earthbound, being the operative word. He can also just die sometimes. And he's like that glass clay named Black Mage that just never seems to, perform when you really, really need him to for me. Always standing in fire and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's old Raid Later tendencies and hating mages, but... But the good news is we get to see the best character in Earthbound. I don't care who you are. The best character in Earthbound is on Fortunato's stream right now. Let's load up the lock. It's Tessie hype. Let's see those MS Paint beasts. No matter what, the only thing I love about Jeff is we get introduced to this amazing, amazing purple plesiosaur. Long may it reign over good RNG. Now, if you didn't get your fill of Tessie, the good news is we've got more Tessie hype coming on Ares' screen. Coming right up. And Fortunato is moving into the hardest enemy in Earthbound. Some people say that a meme. I say it's the bloody truth. This particular worthless protoplasm can't just do this stuff. Oh, god damn it. Yeah, protoplasm just love to spawn, call for help. They are faster than Jeff at the very beginning. Level 1 Jeff cannot outspeed them. And it takes, if I remember right, their health total is 45, if I remember correctly, which is essentially 3 of Jeff's hits. And Fortunato takes a death to hardest enemy in Earthbound. Once again, taking the movement all the way to the diagonal to despawn the Gruff Goat on his way down into Brick Road. And that is to avoid the spawn of the Gruff Goat because, Gruff Goat hits like a truck and Jeff is not ramped up. The great equalizer of the hardest enemy in the game. And just like that, Aerie is not that far behind. This could all come down to Pawn Cave. This could come down to Duck or Proto Skip 2. This could come down to Boogie Tent. This could come down to Graveyard Spawns. There is a lot of stuff still in this, and these runners are very close. Nato almost got it. Hey, gets the duck skip. Oh! Moved back just enough to get him. Darn. I thought he had the duck skip there. Oh well. Looks like Aerie is just gonna... Oh! Wait, what? That should have been a green squirrel. Oh, Bubble Monkey. Fortunato getting through Brick Road. Oh, you're right, Hunter. You are actually right. I forgot. That's right. Because Brick Road is coded specifically this way. There is no green or red swirls here. You are correct. I forgot that. I'm just used to Bubble Monkey causing... Oh, and that's a red swirl. Because, beep, you. So Fortunato is exactly one segment of the cave ahead. You are correct. That's right. Oh, all the special mechanics of Bubble Monkey that I keep forgetting. Because you have to physically turn in the correct direction to get the green swirl. So Fortunato getting the pretty much ideal monkey movement to get him directly underneath the rope before using the gum. Let's see if he's going to grab the safety bottle rocket, which he is. Good. And mushroom blocked. And mushroom blocked again. What you need is the mushrooms to be on the right side below where they get caught on the ledge. Goes for it and gets it. Nice. Fortunato is out of Pawn Cave. Earthbound's going for a stutter play. Now, Fortunato's talking to Dr. Andernuts, his long-estranged father. Ephry is fighting a mushroom. Oh goodness, and unfortunately he takes a death and goes all the way back. Are indeed. Oh goodness. The good news is the Brick Road enemies do not respawn once you have either defeated them or run away. If you have skipped them, then they still remain, but if you have defeated or run away, then you're fine. However, you'll have to go through all of Pawn Cave again, which is just a super happy fun time with Jeff. I do think that Ness, Jeff, Paula, and Pooh did die at the end events. And canonically, I like to think that Jeff pushed the button that killed him. Because you can deny Ness pushing the button. And then Dr. Andernuts will go to the next person in your party at that point, will be Jeff. And then you can have Jeff push the button. Barry going for the risky. Okay, good. Gets past it. Could have easily gotten pincered there, so. The other thing we can do here is, once Jeff actually lands, they'll be covered in soot, and then I'll ask if you want to be their friend. Now, to progress the story, you have to say yes. You can, however, say no. And it loses a little bit of time. But it's up to you whether or not it's worth it. Because it'll ask the same question again, but... Now, this race isn't over. Fortunato can still die to Boogie. It has happened before. This would essentially require a low or miss on the big bottle rocket, a lower or miss on the second bottle rocket, or Boogie killing Jeff, which all these things can happen, and Rockins. Ness Rocket Luck. So this can happen. There has been a race in this tournament already where basically Boogie decided the game from about this distance apart. In fact, a little further. Me too, Saren. Fortunato defeating Boogie. It got closer, though. I thought a commentator cursed it. But yes, it's exactly what I was afraid of, and this can happen. The Boogie tent can actually just go after your party members, which is typically why a lot of the runners take the safe strategy of defend, PBR. Because in the off chance that Boogie will attack, it typically attacks Ness. So, GG to Fortunato. He's got to pick up the Fly Honey, and dot. And Fortunato has finished the race with an official SRL time of 1:11:55, which appears to be a personal best SRL time, most likely. But I'd have to get confirmation for that. The advantage of killing off your kids in Bogey percent is you have less text to get through if you can get through the Bogey fight, because they won't have as many level ups. Now, ideally, in the glitchless sense, you don't want your kids to die because you need as much of the EXP going around. So once again, another upset in the tournament. Now, Aries going through the rest of the Skyrunner sequence. I'm predicting a finish of, I'm going to say about mid 115. Tonight, any more races? I believe this was the last one tonight. I think there is a current race going on between Hello Boeing and Penguin, but I'd have to double check to see how far they are through that, because I got started a little bit before Ari and Fortunato's did. But there is a lot of people from the community basically practicing and running all nights of the week. If you're interested in more Earthbound, definitely give the actual game a follow. In addition, there is a weekly glitchless race in which a lot of the people from the community play, and those are on Sunday afternoon/evening. I believe they're around 5:30 Eastern on Sundays is when they start, if I remember correctly, but people can correct me. There are more races coming up this week. There's one on Friday, I believe at 10. Again, stay tuned for details on where that will be restreamed, or there's also some more races on Saturday. Saturday there is a race at 7 p.m. So the Friday one is between Salty Fry and Daniel RGT. The Saturday race is between Hunter and BR Stallings. And then there are a couple races on Tuesday of next week that are scheduled. As we move through the bracket series, Ari cleaning up Boogie. Very nice, very nice. GG's. GG's to Eri for finishing up with an official SRL race time of 1:15:23. Very respectable run. Little RNG not going your way. Nest missing Rockins. I can feel it. Death in Pond Cave. Oof. Looks like Eri is doing the traditional go up to the tent and go poke a hole in the code. GG's to them. Now, that details what's going on for the actual brackets. So we got one on Friday and one on Saturday, and you can find all the details here. And looks like there's plenty of more action going on in speed gaming tonight. Looks like there's currently ALTTP randos going on both speed gaming 1 and 2 currently. And again, I want to say GG's to Fortunato on the win, GG for finishing Eri, and congratulations to Fortunato. May bless everyone's RNG in the future, and good night, everyone.